Day 89 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I'm just trying to help myself. Here's a real-life ignoring the Trump administration adjacent story on day 89 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I returned some cable boxes yesterday because I haven't turned on my TV in a year. The company is called Optimum. I'm sure you love them to death. I got to the Optimum office before they opened, and while I was waiting, I met an older gentleman who told me about gardening with his grandkids. I can tell that he's Italian. In fairness, if he assumed I was Jewish, I would be fine with that. He tells me he's been living in America for 60 years, which according to the Trump administration, if you came here from Italy 60 years ago, you might not be allowed to live here anymore. Who knows? I asked, "You grow all those vegetables in your garden?" He said, "Yup." I asked, "You make the gravy on Sunday?" He says, I do make the gravy on Sunday." I reply, "I knew it. I had a feeling." I was half hoping he'd invite me over. It was a nice conversation. We complained about how Optimum doesn't open till 10 a.m. What company doesn't open until 10 a.m.? I start my day much earlier than 10 a.m., and my Italian gravy-making friend does too. He had to replace a remote control. To replace a remote control, this gentleman, who's probably pushing 80, has to haul his ass over to Optimum. Just then, a younger, tougher-looking guy walks up, and he has a remote control in his hand too. The Optimum remote control is just not reliable. This guy also has a complaint. He's like, "I set up an exchange for this thing online 2 weeks ago, and they never mailed it to me." The thing is, guys, for all I know, these two gentlemen could be the biggest supporters of the Trump administration and the leader of the Trump administration on the face of the planet. But it didn't matter. They're looking at me in my fingerless mittens and hipster glasses with a Xi'an famous foods trucker hat with Chinese symbols on it, and they could have thought, whoa, woke liberal. But it didn't matter because we all had Optimum to complain about. We all share the same complaints, which makes us more like each other than anything else that comes into our lives to divide us. The older man making Sunday gravy wants to see his grandkids and enjoy television with a working remote control. And if you still have television, so do you. This weekend, don't forget to turn off the divisive information and continue to ignore the Trump administration. Day 90 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I'm just a guy drinking coffee on Saturday morning. I'm just trying to help myself. It is amusing to continue to see uproars at Republican town halls. These are town halls in deep, red Iowa, for example. Watching constituents scream at Chuck Grassley, who is 91 years old and was elected to the Senate when I was 9 years old, is frankly crazy business. I saw one man yell at Chuck, who I assume is actually named Charles, about what he was going to do in regard to the leader of the Trump administration defying a Supreme Court ruling. It wasn't what this man was yelling or where he was yelling it that got me. It was the tone of his voice. It was deep. It was guttural. It was coming from a place of distrust, desperation, and disdain. It was a feeling we are all feeling. The state of our country is not about red or blue anymore. It isn't even about being an American. It is not even about ignoring the Trump administration. It is about the Trump administration ignoring us. Human beings deserve decency. Human beings deserve basic respect for human life. Human beings deserve to be treated with care. When you have been living comfortably in the Senate for almost 45 years, and you won't give a straight answer to the person in front of you who helps to pay for your comfortable lifestyle, then the guttural response from your constituent is what you are going to get, and it is what you deserve. Republicans are pissed. MAGA is pissed. That's why I'm going to go ahead and put the hashtag Donald Trump is your president on this video, because maybe MAGA will see it. Maybe the angry comments directed at me as a liberal will start again, because those angry comments have pretty much vaporized. Why? because those angry commenters are now directing those angry comments where they belong. Where they belong is with the senators, the congressmen, and the congresswomen, and other enablers and supporters of the Trump administration who continue to undermine the lives of everyone who is not them. Until the Chuck or Charles Grassleys of the world are replaced by leaders who will treat us with the respect that their position requires of them, we will continue to roar, and we will continue to ignore the Trump administration. Day 91 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. Happy Easter, everybody. I'm just trying to help myself. It is now weak to love and be loved. It is now woke to love and be loved. Some men, like those in the Trump administration, including the leader of the Trump administration, have painted themselves into this corner. And you can be sure the paint they used wasn't one of those weak, woke colors. Toxic masculinity, the most recent way to describe a man's fear of being emasculated, is actually the fear that this type of man has of their sexuality. These are men who cannot come to terms with even a fleeting thought that they might have, which falls outside of a construct they have built within themselves of what represents masculinity and what specifically represents straight masculinity. Men like these have decided to let the world outside them tell them what they should be. There can be no expression from these men whatsoever of curiosities, desires, and impulses that fall outside these strict confines. I am not even talking about acting on these curiosities, desires, and impulses, because we know that the leader of the Trump administration always acts impulsively. I am talking about the inability to come to terms with curiosities, desires, and impulses that run contrary to his facade. The film Ferris Bueller's Day Off comes to mind. The scene towards the end when the character Cameron destroys his father's most beloved possession, his car. Who do you love? Who do you love? You love a car. He yells this at his father, who is literally not there and has metaphorically never been there for Cameron. If this film were made today, it is likely that Cameron's father would be a supporter of the Trump administration. Who do you love? Who do you love? You love a Dodge Megacab Ram 3500. Peace through strength is a phrase that the leader of the Trump administration constantly repeats like a mantra that he has no idea how to actualize. He does not exemplify strength. He exemplifies weakness. He is not a leader. He is led. The way that stops is for men like this to be okay with loving and being loved. For the type of men who occupy and support the Trump administration, a psychedelic experience would open up their hearts and minds to the idea that there is an existence beyond their narrow frame of mind about their masculinity. As long as men like these continue to ignore these curiosities, desires, and impulses in favor of gutless grudges and grievances, we will continue to ignore the Trump administration. Day 92 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. What do? Am I a self-help guru? No, I'm just trying to help myself. I started to say, when Democrats get back in power, there's going to be accountability for the Trump administration and the leader of the Trump administration. But what I meant to say is there will be no Democrats in power unless there is going to be accountability. Because a Democrat is not going to be elected unless the people know that they are going to hold the Trump administration accountable for what they have done. No matter what you think of the Biden administration, good, bad, or indifferent, something that they did not do was to hold the Trump administration and the leader of the Trump administration accountable for what they did. This is not about getting even. This is about America. This is about an ideal that we have yet to live up to, and to live up to it, we must atone for the circumstances by which this nation was founded and built, including living up to the concept that no one is above the law. The rule of law is what holds society together. You better act right. That is what it's about. You better motherfucking act right if you want to be part of this society. That is a privilege you are given. You are given an opportunity to act right. You are given an opportunity to be a productive member of society. When you don't act right, you shouldn't be elevated to the office of president. You should be demoted to the office of prisoner. So, this is not when they go low, we go lower. This is when they go low, we're going to let you know. We're going to let you know you're going low. And how do we let you know you're going low? We put on a show, and that show is called a trial. We have a way of putting on that show, and the audience for that performance is called a jury. And if that jury comes back and says, thumbs down, this is a stinker, then the curtain is going to close on your show, and this curtain is made of steel bars. There cannot be any of this reaching across the aisle anymore. Do you know why? Because they rely on us reaching across the aisle. They think we'll just wait for them to reach across the aisle, and when they do, we'll just cut their hands off. Whoever it's going to be in 28, if it's going to be AOC, if it's going to be Pete or whoever, I don't want to hear anything about a minority woman can't get elected. I don't want to hear anything about a gay man can't get elected. I want to hear about how a straight white man can't get elected. Ignoring old straight white motherfuckers equals ignoring the Trump administration. Day 93 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. My name is Josh Bloom, and I'm just trying to help myself. Today, I heard that Ye, who I will not dead name, even though he would likely not pay a trans person the same respect, released a new song on Monday. If you still can't figure out who I mean, Ye used to have a first syllable. It was con. He was a con man, just like the leader of the Trump administration. I have a feeling that the Trump administration and the leader of the Trump administration, who have previously considered Ye an ally, will likely not be saying Ye about this new Ye song about a consensual relationship Ye had with his male cousin growing up. It's difficult to describe certain subject matter on this app, but let me refer you to the classic Prince song with the letters H-E-A-D in the title. Ye and his cousin were pretty into that song title. The opening lyrics of the Ye song Cousins, slightly edited by me to accommodate this family-friendly app, are hanging with my cousin, reading dirty magazines. We seen some N-words kissing. We ain't know what that shit mean. Then we start reenacting everything that we had seen. That's when I gave my cousin Prince song title, Now look, I stopped messing with Ye after Yeezus, which was 12 years ago, but I would still listen to the albums, including and up to that one, because they were fly. Still, when Ye became Ye and started aligning himself with the leader of the Trump administration and all of the hateful ideology of the Trump administration, I didn't even listen to those records anymore. I'm a Jew. I'm a gay Jew. With this song, I felt conflicted for a minute. I mean, that's some heavy shit to admit. Apparently, the cousin in question is in prison for murder. And I'm now wondering who is going to ask the leader of the Trump administration to pardon the cousin and invite Ye and the cousin to the Oval Office to recreate Bill and Monica. I'm also wondering if the currently quiet electric car guy, Mr. Musk, who also likes to throw Roman salutes in the air just like Ye likes to sell swastika t-shirts, is a fan of the song Cousins and the subject matter of the song Cousins and the singer of the song Cousins. Because if you did not know, Mr. Musk has a trans daughter that he has disowned. I have a feeling that the Trump administration and the leader of the Trump administration and the currently quiet electric car guy will just ignore Ye's new single, That Sucks. And we will continue to ignore the Trump administration. Day 94 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I'm not a self-help guru. God damn it, I'm just trying to help myself. Staying positive is difficult under the best circumstances. When we are locked into a period of intense self-reflection and questioning about the fundamental nature of our life and purpose, which is also known as an existential crisis, optimism may feel impossible on some days. Whoa, slow your roll. I am not locked into an existential crisis, and neither are you. That's way more dramatic than I'm down for. What I do struggle with, however, is allowing myself the time to take a deep breath and examine the facts before I react. I am a small creator on the internet. I have close to 10,000 followers on TikTok, though, so if you want to help me get there, please follow. Here's an example of how to think positively. On YouTube, my following is about 10% of what it is here. When I post a 3-minute video on YouTube that gets 1,000 views and 7.5% of those viewers watched until the end, theoretically that's 150 people that were interested enough in what I had to say for 3 minutes. 3 minutes is a lot to ask someone to watch, and I can talk. People speak an average of 120 words a minute. I speak 160, and 7.5% is only the number of people who stayed for the full 3 minutes, meaning many more watched a portion of that. I am grateful that so many people are at least somewhat curious about what I am expressing to the world. My point about positivity is that this isn't related to the number of views and view time. The point is about attitude. Maintaining it is a behavior worth practicing because attitude is everything, and working to keep a positive one is worth the practice. Get good at it, and the Trump administration and the leader of the Trump administration, just to name one example, will never shake us from our positive outlook on life. The facts are on our side. Difficult times, scary times, and uncertain times are a fact of life. Accepting that fact makes us part of the 7.5% that makes it to the end. Don't get caught up in ignoring the positive facts of existence in favor of existential crisis. Do get caught up in ignoring the Trump administration. Day 95 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. Imagine I'm a self-help guru. It's easy if you try. Something About the Beatles is my favorite in a sea of podcasts about the Beatles. I thought I was ignoring the Trump administration this morning as I was listening to it while making breakfast, but the Trump administration and the leader of the Trump administration have a way of permeating my life. The host of Something About the Beatles was discussing the new documentary film 1 to 1 about John Lennon and Yoko Ono's early 1970s years in New York City, specifically 1971 to 1973. I was born in 1972, but the film made no mention of this. During this time, the Richard Nixon administration was actively trying to deport John Lennon because the voting age in the United States had recently been lowered to 18, and John was trying to use his fame to advocate for registering new voters to keep Nixon from being reelected. Deporting John Lennon sure sounds to me like something the leader of the Trump administration might try to do. I have a feeling that he could not name one Beatles song. During the discussion, the topic got to the Kent State Massacre in 1970, which happened during Nixon's first term. 4 students were killed and 9 were injured after being fired upon by the Ohio National Guard during a protest. After this tragedy, 2 years later, Richard Nixon was reelected in a landslide by voters who seemed to feel that these students were, quote-unquote, asking for it. I wonder if the Trump administration and the leader of the Trump administration thought those students were asking for it. I have a feeling he would say, of course. And if you don't want the same, you better let it be. I do not think that the leader of the Trump administration would realize he had just named a Beatles song. If I didn't let it be, the Trump administration might say Josh Bloom was asking for it when he made 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration, which is a much more subtle form of protest, but it is the kind of protest that we engage in today. So I have to say that there may come a day when the Trump administration pushes through legislation that says, if you post a video called 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration, then you are subject to deportation. While some may say this thinking is hyperbolic, I am saying with my usual optimism and realism that I am so sorry. What you call hyperbolic, I call historical precedent. Look, yesterday was just a day in the life, and tomorrow never knows, but all you need is love, so let's come together and continue to ignore the Trump administration.